Welcome to Momentum Investing, property investing made easy. One of the world's top podcasts on property investing, bringing you the top experts in the field so you can learn firsthand what it takes to create passive income and take control over your financial future.
Hello and welcome to the Momentum Investing Podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Wood, one of the founders of Momentum Property Education. First off, let me just take this moment to thank you for listening to the Momentum Investing Podcast. I want you to know how much I appreciate you being a subscriber, listening to our episodes, joining us on these journeys, because it's over the past year, we've been meeting exciting people from all walks of life, right? We've had Kim Kiyosaki, Jordan Harbinger, we've had property experts like Ben Chai, Simon Zucci, Matthew Moody, Shimon Rudish. We've had property specialists like Jessica Olsen-Zabel, who's an interior designer. We've had Michael First, a project manager. And, we've had venture capital specialists like Tim Cooley and Judy Robinette. So we've met all kinds of different people, entrepreneurs, investors, celebrities, the whole kind of band. And as you've listened to this, you've noticed that, I'm sitting here as your host, learning from these amazing people just with you, and I hope you're learning as well and taking value. And I want you to know that I really appreciate when I see someone give us a review. I really appreciate those reviews. Or when you share on social media about what you think about an episode, share an episode and go like, wow, this interview with Kim Kiyosaki was amazing. Or with Michelle Cairns is today's episode. It means so much to us, because the more people we can get the message out to, the more exciting people we can bring on. The bigger the podcast gets, the more exciting people join us. The more people who join Momentum Property Education's courses, the more exciting partners we get. Like now we have the crowdfunding platform that allows us to fund up to 80% of our clients' deals. We have a premium utilities broker that allows our students to save between 10 and 30% on their utilities, electrics, water, heating. We got a Swedish bank who's looking to lend to our students. We have so many exciting things that we're working on. Brilliant sourcing agents, brilliant mortgage brokers, bank support, partnerships that are allowing us to help our students and take that next step. And the more of you there are, the more students we have, the more and more exciting partnerships we're able to get. So I really appreciate you joining us here. When you subscribe, when you listen, that actually helps us grow this podcast. When you share it, it is brilliant. It makes such a difference. Today's episode is really, really exciting as well. So I hope you take the time to share it or come to one of our social media channels. Join the conversation on Facebook and talk about the episode, or comment on Instagram or LinkedIn, and, just let people know what you think, or connect with us on Twitter. We're building up a Twitter channel right now, so I'd love to connect with you there as well. Now, I'd love to see how you can, get value from this. So please reach out to us when you get value from an episode. It means a lot. Today's episode with Michelle Cairns is so exciting. She talks about how she was able to build her brand in the property industry, how she has been able to bring on investors, build relationships, and do it while providing value to herself and to others. It's very, very exciting, and I'm not going to spoil it more than that. But if you want to build your property brand, well, this episode is for you. So I'll see you in the episode. Welcome to the Momentum Investing Podcast. I am here with Michelle Cairns. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Daniel, how are you?
I'm very good. I'm excited to have you here. So would you like to introduce yourself a little bit, give us a little bit about your background before we get into the fun stuff about raising finance?
Sure. So I'm a property investor and developer based in Chester in the northwest of England. And I have a mixed portfolio, single lets, HMOs, blocks of flats, and a new commercial unit just added recently.
Oh, wow.
I also work for Your Property Network magazine, which is a national property magazine for investors across the country. And I do their podcasts and also their training webinars as well. So lots to keep me busy.
Yeah, definitely. How long have you been investing for now?
So it's coming up to about 7 years, and
Oh,
before
you're
that,
old in the game
yeah.
now.
Well, yeah, compared to a lot of people, I guess, but also, it still feels like I'm fresh and learning every day. I'm a keen learner. My background is teaching, so I was a French and Spanish teacher before
Oh,
moving into property. So I completely reinvented myself and my career about 7 years ago when I just decided that it wasn't being a teacher until I was 68, which is my retirement age. I just couldn't see that, that was the path that I wanted to stay on. And I just thought, okay, I need a backup plan. I need something else. And that coincided with reading Rich Dad Poor Dad. The rest is history. As it's a bit cliche to say now, but it did the trick with me. Which, funny enough, actually, there's I guess I was exposed to all of these different ideas early on because I was actually involved in success resources myself
mm,
back in the day when I was in my early 20s, because I was into Tony Robbins and T. Harv
right.
Eker and all of the crew there when they were coming to London. So I did Tony Robbins's it was Wealth Mastery back then. I think it's
Oh, yeah.
Business
Okay.
Mastery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they do business mastery and then they have life and wealth mastery.
Yeah, so I did them, absolutely loved them, and then went back to crew. So I was part of the events crew for some time as well. So
Oh, wow.
I guess it just, it's something about when the student is ready, the teacher appears or something. So I was obviously exposed to these ideas, but I was a student at uni then, so I don't know, things just didn't click. So when I read the Rich Dad Poor Dad book, it clicked there.
Right. It
So
was one of those like,
there we go.
that's what Tony's been talking
Yeah,
about.
exactly.
Why didn't he just say it like this?
I know, right? Well, funny enough, on the in the Wealth Mastery, it's Keith Cunningham, who is supposedly the rich dad from Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Mhm.
People say that he is. So he was talking all about that. But that was 2008 that I was exposed to that, when obviously the crash was happening and it was all over the place. So yeah, I guess it just wasn't the right time, and here I am today. So
Very cool. Very cool. And you've specialized in really putting together like creative deals and how to structure them. And so I really wanted to get into with you is how you go about raising finance, because that's something, as international investors, we spend so much time figuring out how do we pay for more deals. And you've done that so well whilst still doing all the work of actually being there. So you've done something
yeah.
really well. So how do you go about finding investors?
Yeah, we definitely have to have many hats on. But I think, in terms of working with investors, one of the questions I get asked a lot on that respect is, where do I find the investors? It's like there's a secret Facebook group somewhere full of all
Yeah.
these investors, and I just need to find
Well,
it.
it's
And then
behind
suddenly,
secret door number 3. Haven't they told you?
exactly, right?
It's
So I think, from day one, I remember sitting in the in a one of the local networking meetings and thinking, this is it. This is what's going to get me out of the full-time day job. And I'm going to commit to this kind of for the rest of my life. It just made sense. I thought I could see how I could get involved in transferable skills. And so at that point, I just thought, I'm in this for the long game. Yes, I might do other things, and property is very much, a vehicle to the financial freedom and the choice and all of that. But I think on day one, I decided that it was going to be about completely immersing myself in the property world and in creating networks. And someone said to me once at the beginning, build your network before you need it. And that always really stuck with me. And, it's always about property as a people business. We're not talking about bricks and mortar. We're talking about, dealing with people, whether they're landlords, vendors, agents, investors. So I think I set about, and I think it probably part of my personality is I really enjoy the social aspect as well. So connecting and networking and helping other people. So when I started, I thought, well, I don't have the experience to really help other people, and I don't have the credibility or track record to work with investors yet. But one thing I can do is I can actually bring those two people together. So I started a local networking meeting. So there's plenty of the national ones where you can go and learn from the presentations. But what I found was that 10-minute gap in between for the break was where I got the most value. So I just said, right, okay, let's have a 2-hour break. That was my meeting. So I just, put a date in the diary, and I turned up to my first meeting with myself and a book and my phone, and thought, well, if no one turns up, I just sit and read a book, right? And I think it was all about the consistency with showing up every month. And you do that for, we had our 4th anniversary before lockdown, so we're probably on our 5th year now. But and then I got to a point in that where things just started to happen. It was, I guess, a compound effect where the deals started coming, the investors coming, I was matching people up, and then someone said to me, well, you're finding these deals through the group and you're matching with the investors, but actually, you're not taking a cut. And I was like, well, no, because I'm just doing the good thing, right? I'm just connecting people. So, I kind of believe in, the karma and giving back. And I've never really positioned myself as a sourcer, but to me, it's always been about the community, about having someone, to call up, or having, just people around you where you can come together every month and say, well, this is what's going on for me this month. What do you think? If you ever experienced that? So that's really powerful. So from, I suppose, some of my investors have come from that, JV partners, where they've, my last JV partner on one project, he actually ran that very first meeting that I ever went to. So I've known him since day one. So I think and until kind of recently, I always thought that people had to really know you for years and, trusted kind of long-term friends and see your track record. And then things, I suppose, started to change, where I started to meet people, and because I now have that track record, I have the portfolio, I am working for the magazine, I've showed up every month, sometimes doing 6 or 7 networking meetings a month consistently over the years. I guess people can just sense that level of confidence, a level of experience, and they are willing to, work with you based on that reputation, based on that credibility. And what started to happen was, another tip for anybody is just to document what you're doing on social media, because if people don't know about what you're doing, and then it's how can they work with you? And for some people, they find that really awkward. And I was really, although I use social media as a teacher, it was something that you never posted anything that was public, because you just didn't want anything, the kids to see anything. But I realized I just had to get over that, and I just had to kind of put myself out there. And yes, it just, it felt, wasn't comfortable, and I, just would rather have not done it. But it's like anything, once you kind of get used to it, then it just becomes easier. So there was a few points where at one point we had a deal coming up, and I just put on LinkedIn, I just put a post that just said opportunity available, and that was it. If you're interested in a great return, get in touch. And I had somebody from Germany who contacted me and just said, I've been watching your videos and following what your journey. It sounds great. And what's the deal? He ended up investing £12,000 with me in a deal a few years ago. He's got all of that money back, I'm glad to say. And, just, when you think, okay, right, really, really. But when the money landed in my bank account and we'd signed all of the, the contracts, I just thought, wow, this is, that really did.
It works.
I've never met the guy. I've never, he's never seen any of the properties. So yeah, it works. And another one was a local networking meeting. And I remembered driving to this meeting thinking, right, I kind of need to say, because beforehand I'd always gone along and said, I'm looking for to help people who need to sell their properties quickly, where the speed and the certainty is more important than the price. And that was kind of my pitch on the night, hoping to meet landlords. But on this particular night, I thought, right, I'm going to have to change this, because I'd like to work with investors. And I'd heard about people who, you meet investors through these networking meetings, but it never really happened to me. Anyway, that night I stood up and I said, I'm also, normal pitch, also looking to work with investors who want a great return. And there were two people who approached me that night and said, great, happy to speak. And one of them, he sat, I met his wife and we sat down for a coffee, and he said, right, we've pulled all our money together, all our funds, we're looking to invest, we've got £1 million, what have you got? And I was just like, really? Again? Like, wow. Again, this is like, I'd sort of seen him at the meetings once or twice, but no kind of, obviously there was the follow-up conversations, and he came to see the deal, but he just, his latest investment with us for £400,000 in a block of flats. So, these things happen. And in terms of family and friends, one friend has invested with me recently, and I've known her for 20 years, but it took her 7 years to see me go through everything I've gone through, because obviously there was opportunities at the beginning for her to invest, but actually I think some people just need more time. I think it depends on their level of risk. There's many factors involved when I work with my coach. When they come in my coaching, I say to people, I think there's two main types of investors: people who are all about you, and obviously the deal's got to stack and all the numbers got to work, but really they're investing in you and your credibility, and that they can see you've got a track record or the integrity or whatever. And then there's other people who it's they're more about the actual covering their risk, and it's more about the numbers and the detail and the deal and how many square foot, and it doesn't matter how much security you give them, they're just it's not going to work. So or maybe it is, but they just require a lot more focus around that detail. So I think understanding who you're speaking to when you're speaking to different investors can really help as well. Some people, they're not bothered about the square foot. They're not interested. Like this guy in Germany who's like, yeah, if you think it's a good deal, let's go for it. Very high level figures. And obviously that was a smaller amount. I'm sure it would have been different if it was £1 million he was lending me. Yeah. But I think, yeah, it's obviously started the relationship in terms of the investing there. So yeah, I think just tracking your progress over time and being consistent, just it holds a lot of weight.
Yeah, definitely. So essentially what you've done over your past 7 years is you've been there live, you've showed up, you've run networking events, you've been to other people's networking events, you keep putting yourself out there showing that you are a property investor, and you're not disappearing, you're there.
Yeah.
And then you're augmenting that with posting on social media that kind of documents that journey as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose another aspect of it is, I think there's a saying about, if you're not willing to invest in yourself, how do you expect other people to? And if that isn't, if you don't have the funds to start out with to invest in property, you've got time, you've got resources, you've got creativity to go out there and invest in your journey. So what I did was I went on a few mentoring courses. So I did 2 1-year courses, and the contacts that I got through that, the learning, the accountability, all of that were phenomenal, because I just thought, do you know what, I don't want to take 10 years to figure out and make all the mistakes myself. I just want to
look at someone else's.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, life happens and things don't always work out, but there's always, I think you have to go through an element of learning on your own and being in the thick of things. But certainly you can do things the right way and the wrong way, and one way is to just get educated. So again, that kind of elevates you in terms of the being around committed people who are on the same journey, especially when you're you're on a journey of a year with somebody, like 12 months of, again, showing up every month and helping them, and they're helping you. And the obviously the Simon Zucchi's mastermind was a big one, because that I just put everything into it, and glad to say, I was one of the top performers. Again, that means that I was on, I'm on Simon Zucchi's YouTube channel, and more credibility, kind of putting yourself out there and going for it. There were people who were eligible to be on the top performers, but they didn't want to be on the stage, and they didn't want to have that acknowledgement.
Right.
So I think if you're going to be looking to work with investors, putting yourself out there a little bit, being uncomfortable. There was an opportunity early on in that course where I don't know if you've seen it, it's on Sky TV, and it's basically like Dragon's Den, but for property investors. It's called Property Elevator. Anyway, so I was on the first ever episode of that, and I had to turn up with a pitch, and I had this deal, and I had to pitch to these dragons, these angel investors, and managed to, the deal never turned out in the end, but actually secure the investment on the day. And that was great. So that's like another point of credibility as well. So
yeah, absolutely.
I guess what I'm saying is,
the YPN podcast as well.
Yeah, that again, the one of the training, one of the mentorship courses, the editor from the magazine was on that, and that's how I got to know her. And then some time passed, and then she and I got a call and said, we've got an interesting offer for you if you'd like to come on board. And I was like, okay. So started slowly and surely, and then I'm doing all sorts of interviews, which I absolutely love, to be honest, because it's as a kind of teacher learner, I get to learn at the same time as asking lots of questions, and it's fun. I love it. I get paid to interview the experts, as I say. So.
That's brilliant. Well, we're out of time, so I'm going to ask, if we want to learn more from you, if we want to connect with you, how do we get more Michelle?
Sure. So obviously I've got my own podcast with YPN, so it's Your Property Podcast, and just michellecairns.com. I'm on social media, obviously doing a lot at the moment, so get lots of messages. But if you say, you've heard this podcast, then it'd be good to connect with you. And LinkedIn, Clubhouse, we're in Clubhouse a lot of the mornings as well, 7:45 with Simon Zucchi on the weekday mornings, so hopefully catch you there.
We've done a few of those together.
Yeah.
That's been awesome. Thank you
cool.
so much, everyone, for listening, and Michelle, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thanks for having
everyone,
me.
I have some news for you in a moment, so stay tuned, and I'll speak to you soon.
Thanks again.
Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got a lot of value out of it. If you haven't subscribed yet to the podcast, please do. Please subscribe to the podcast, because we got a really exciting podcast episode next week coming out, and I want you to be the first to know the moment it comes out, so you'll get a notification if you subscribe. If you could take the time to write a positive review about the podcast, that would mean the world to us. It really makes a difference. If you do it on Apple Podcasts, or give us a thumbs up on other platforms that allow you to do that, it just means so much for us. So thank you so much for doing that. Next week, I have the honor of interviewing Derek Arden. So Derek Arden is a negotiation specialist. So if you want to find ways to get the best deal, be it on when you're buying a property, negotiating with the power team, or getting an investor on board, next week's episode is for you. There are some very powerful lessons that come out of that, and it was a really fun episode to do. So I'm looking forward to it. I'll see you next week. Tuesday morning is when the episode comes out. So thank you so much. My name is Daniel Wood. I was your host for today, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again next week.